Hello, my gorgeous souls, and welcome back to the Manifestation Babe podcast. Today, let's go ahead and dive into 6 underrated manifestation rituals that actually work and my explanations behind why. I don't know about you, but I am so into those podcast episodes that are literally, they're spoken about as lists. There's something about when someone tells me like the 5 steps to do something or the 5 ways to accomplish something or like the 6 best books to read or the 12 best tips to accomplish XYZ. There's just something so consumable about those episodes. They feel so easy to listen to. So I was like, why not create some content like that? Because I genuinely enjoy that kind of content. And I feel like there's many of you out there in the world that also enjoy the same content. So let's do it. Let's talk about the 6 underrated manifestation rituals that actually work and why they work. And I wanted to share some of my own manifestation rituals that I feel like are the most effective and in some cases underrated. And why underrated is because, of course, you can find much fancier rituals like writing down your manifestation 100 times a day for X amount of days, which feels so daunting to me. I used to do such rituals and like I'll never be caught dead doing those rituals again because it just feels like a fucking chore. And I feel like if a manifestation ritual feels like a chore, it's probably not the one for you. Or maybe there are some rituals where you create like a very fancy crystal grid and you buy certain crystals and you arrange them in a very specific pattern. Again, nothing wrong with that. It's just a little bit more complex or a little bit fancier, or I feel like it requires some specialized knowledge. Like I don't even know how to make a crystal grid. So I wanted to take it to a couple of classics and share my own personal twists on each of these classics. So first things first, let's dive into the list. The very first underrated manifestation ritual is dun, 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 visualization. And I sometimes refrain from calling it visualization, I think because it's more of a mental rehearsal. So I like to call it mental rehearsal because that's what it is. I feel like some people have the gift of being able to see images very clearly in their minds, but over the course of teaching, many, many students, I recently in my book proposal had to go into the back end of my business and I asked my COO, how many students have we served through the course of Manifestation Babe's history? And I'm thinking like 5,000 people, right? Because I'm just mostly thinking about how many students I've had in MBA over the last 2 years. And for whatever reason, that's like the number that stuck out to me. And she reported back to me that we have served 55,000 students. What? So I've taught a lot of people. I have collected many different stories, many different testimonials, feedback from my students, received so many questions. I feel like I can really fine tune the manifestation process for just about anyone. And the number one feedback that I would get to visualization is like, Catherine, I don't see pictures. I can't visualize. So I feel like I can't manifest. And that's just not true. Visualization doesn't just have to be about what you see. It could also be about what you hear or what you sense or what you know or what you feel. It's however your mind conjures up this knowing that something has happened or will happen. For example, when I ask you to think about what you ate for dinner last night, for example, me, I know that I had these bomb chicken tenders, these air-fried, gluten-free chicken tenders from True Food Kitchen. If you know what I'm talking about, you guys are so addicting. Let me know. Seriously, send me a DM or a comment on my latest post or somewhere so I can see it. How good are those chicken tenders? If you know what I'm talking about, they're just so freaking good. And I'm not one to eat junk food or order fast food. So if I can find chicken tenders that are not made with a bunch of junk and seed oils and like breading that isn't really good for you and super deep fried, I'm all for it. That's beside the point. How do I know that I ate them, right? I literally see myself eating them. Like I can see it through my mind's eye. There's a very clear visual. But for someone else, like I've asked my students before, and they just like have a sense or a knowing that they had chicken tenders. Or maybe they hear themselves ordering the chicken tenders, or they hear the conversation that happened at the restaurant last night. And so they just know what they ordered because they know that in that restaurant, their go-to order is XYZ. So however you picture that, that is your form of visualization. Another example is, let's say you booked a vacation to the Caribbean next week. Okay. So next Friday, you're going to the Caribbean. And I know that for anyone who has an actual vacation that's booked for next Friday in the Caribbean, they would be feeling a certain level of excitement. I call this excitement vacation anticipation. It's actually an energy that you could use for manifestation of like, if you knew that something is inevitable, like when you know you have a vacation coming up in about 7 days, there's a certain energy that you carry yourself with through the week. It's like no problem is too big. Nothing can affect you. You just have a pep in your step. You're much happier. Little things don't get to you because you're like, fuck it. I got a vacation coming up next week, right? So when you have this vacation coming up in your mind, you know that you have this thing coming up. What do you see? What do you experience? How do you imagine what you're going to be doing, or how you're going to be flying, or how you're going to be relaxing in the Caribbean? So however you process those images, as I'm asking you this question, is your visualization tactic. So that's how you know. You don't have to embody, or you don't have to try on something that works for someone else. You just need to ask yourself, okay, how do I bring up memories in my own mind? Or how do I imagine something to happen in the future, to occur in the future? You use that tactic as your visualization strategy. Okay. Why visualization works for anyone who doesn't know, or let's call it mental rehearsal, is because the mind cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is imagined. So for as long as the subconscious mind is concerned, whatever is being impressed upon the subconscious through your imagination, however that imagination manifests, is literally going on in the mind as if it's real life. The subconscious mind. So think about when you're watching a movie, right? You're watching a movie, and think about a movie that you're like so into, you forget that reality exists. Like you forget that you're sitting on your couch watching the movie, or you're sitting in a movie theater watching the movie, and you're feeling what the characters are feeling. You're experiencing, you're like on the edge of your seat. Something scary is about to happen. Something crazy is about to happen. Or something really funny just happened, or the characters just went through something really sad. And so you literally feel emotional, right? You're experiencing the movie as if it's happening to you. Why does that happen? Because of the subconscious mind and how the mind can't tell the difference between what is real and what is imagined. So everything you conjure up in your imagination is actually happening to your mind. Like it actually thinks that what you're experiencing is real life. So you need to use this as your manifestation strategy. You need to use this as, like, you need to take advantage of this instead of thinking of all the things that you're worried about, or how it's not going to work out, or the worst case scenario. You need to start using this tool to impress upon your mind the best case scenario, as if your manifestation is already done, as if it's worked out far better than you can even imagine. So some of my favorite ways to visualize is I like to visualize to music, and it's because music helps me feel a specific way that I want to feel. So I turn on a really feel good song. I try not to listen to music with lyrics or too many lyrics in the song, just because I feel like it's distracting. I feel like if I'm hearing words, then my mind is going to be creating a visual for what the words are of the song rather than what I'm trying to visualize. And what I'll do is, instead of coming up with this very complex visualization where I'm literally trying to come up with a whole movie in my mind, I like to think of just one scene. So I like to think of one scene that speaks to me. So asking myself, how would I know once a manifestation has manifested? What exactly am I going to see? What exactly am I going to hear? Am I going to hear people celebrating? Am I going to hear myself celebrating? Am I going to send a celebratory text to someone? Am I going to take a picture of it? Like what's going to happen? What is actually in my real life going to happen when I know that it's already done? And then I'll think of just one scene. So one of my favorite scenes to think about is like receiving a phone call from someone telling me that something happened. And so I will replay that phone conversation. Like I'll see myself having my phone on speakerphone, hearing the other person's voice for this very specific manifestation, and I'll hear their voice over and over and over again, repeating the same thing that I need to hear. So it's just that one scene. And then I will feel into how I'm actually going to be feeling as I'm receiving that news. And for the course of one or two or three songs, just depending on how long they are or how much time I have, whether it's 2 minutes, a 2-minute song or 3 2-minute songs, so 6 minutes total, I'm just going to be repeating that scene over and over again. I think another strategy that you can use is imagining an ideal day in your life 1 to 2 years to 3 years from now. And over the course of that song or a few songs, you're just taking yourself through your day from morning all the way through evening. So exactly how are you going to wake up? Where are you waking up? Who are you waking up next to? What are you eating for breakfast? What's the first thing on your to-do list? Like, what are you doing with your free time? What are you doing for work? When you check your bank account in the morning, how much money do you have? Who handles the finance in this dream life, right? Like you're thinking of all these details and you're taking yourself through a more of a longer scale movie, essentially. And that's another strategy that you can do. I also really like to create a vision board. I've been using vision boards since I got into manifestation, and something that I teach my students inside of my masterclass, Vision Board Alchemy, which if you didn't know, I do have a full masterclass, like very in-depth masterclass on exactly how to build a vision board that actually works. I'll drop it in the show notes if you haven't heard of it. Highly, highly recommend it if you don't know where to start or the free stuff on the internet just isn't doing it. It's not working for you. I will give you the shit that actually works and tell you exactly how to pick the right pictures and the right words to put on your vision board that actually do something to your subconscious mind. I'll look at a vision board, my vision board, and just kind of pop myself into each of the images. So kind of jump back and forth into the images and use that as visualization help, especially if you have a hard time like really seeing things in your mind. Maybe you just need something, like you need a building block of inspiration to then take you actually into the image. Going on social media and like watching a video. I do this all the time, especially when I'm manifesting a travel experience of some sort, especially when I could not afford travel back in the day, especially to the level at which I travel today. Let's say that I want to manifest first class international seats and I have never flown first class international seats. I will go on YouTube, the beauty of YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and all of these incredible platforms where other people have documented their experiences in the very experiences that you want to manifest. Go ahead and like watch those videos. And they'll literally give you the scenes that you need for your own imagination. So if you have no idea what a first class seat is like, go watch some videos and then literally you know what it looks like exactly, the exact airlines that you want to fly, the exact row maybe that you want to sit in. Now you can imagine it. You know where the buttons are. You know exactly how you're going to lay flat. You know what the flight attendants' outfits look like. You know exactly the food that's going to be served. And it becomes so easy for you to have these building blocks for your visualization practice. So visualization, mental rehearsal, whatever you want to call it, this shit scientifically has been proven to work. Like literally Olympic athletes have been hooked up, their brains have been hooked up to machinery, and certain athletes were asked to perform actual like physical exercises, and the other athletes were asked to just imagine that they were running through certain drills or going through their sport or whatever the sport is. I think some of the first people that these experiments were done on were skiers, Olympic skiers. So just imagine you're skiing or actually ski, and the exact same parts of the brain, you guys, were lit up, whether the person was actually skiing or running or jumping or whatever it is, versus just imagining that they were doing that. Like that's insane. It's so cool. So anyway, that's visualization. Number 2 is an extension of visualization or mental rehearsal, but in written form. So the second one is scripting. Now, scripting is a way that you can further connect with your desires, especially if you can get like really stuck and you're a little too cerebral. Maybe you overthink things and you need something to just help you slow down so you can really anchor into the energy. I know that I'm that person. Sometimes I can get I've never been formally diagnosed as ADHD, but I am strongly convinced after having many conversations with my ADHD friends that I pretty much, yeah, like I have a lot of behaviors that manifest as ADHD. So my mind can jump in many different places. So writing for me really slows me down, where I have to focus on like one sentence at a time. Where with my scripting, what I will do is I'll either, similarly to mental rehearsal, I will write out an ideal day in my life from morning until evening, exactly what's happening. Like I woke up at this time, blah, 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 blah. And how I will write it is as if it's a journal entry from the future. So the same way that you would write a journal entry, documenting your whole day, like this morning, I woke up at 7:30. My son woke up at 7:32, so I had to go get him. I made coffee at 7:45, and then my husband and I enjoyed a cup of coffee with our son, blah, 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 blah. Like I'm literally taking you guys through like an actual day in my life. So the same way I would document that, instead, you're going into the future. You're going a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever years that you resonate with, that you want to focus on, that feels like a good time span to go into. And then what you're going to do is you're going to pretend like that version of you just ended her day, and you're going to be writing down exactly what happened in that day. And I really like to title my scripting. This is something that actually has given it much more potency, in my opinion. I will write at the top, my life as I declare it. So my life as I declare it. Here's my life as I declare it. Another thing I'll do is if I'm like, oh my God, I have to like write out a whole day. I feel like there's so much to think about. I don't feel like doing all this. I will just create a list of everything that's happened in my life more generically. So my life as I've declared it. This is my life 1 to 5, 10, however many years from now. And then I will write down my manifestations. Like I am blah, blah, blah. I'm making this much money. I do this for work. I feel this way in my everyday life. I look like this. I wear this kind of clothes. I am married to this kind of partner. I drive this kind of car. I serve this amount of people. I've changed this many lives. Like as specific as I can be, and it'll just be bullet points. It doesn't have to be some well thought out story, especially if you have a hard time with storytelling and making up all kinds of stories. You can just create bullet lists for what you've manifested. So, and then just focusing on, just what you want and how you want it to feel. It's really that simple. That's the step 1 of my manifestation process. What do I want and how I want it to feel? And you just make a list. And you just make sure that at the top you clarify that this is my life as I declare it, because everything that you declare does become your life. That's the nature of manifestation. Number 3 is prayer. So prayer really is about just opening up a conversation with the universe, with God, with source, with your higher self, whatever it is that you believe in. I feel like prayer is so underrated. And the thing about prayer is that, there's such thing as free will. And I believe in free will. And I believe that unless you begin the conversation, unless you ask for assistance, the other side waits on you to do that. The other side doesn't move very much because we live in a reflective universe. That's the matrix that we signed a contract with. We signed a contract before incarnating into Earth that we are going to come into life that works very specifically with very specific universal laws. These are the universal laws of life. These are the universal laws of manifestation. There's certain laws that you need to abide by, whether you like it or not. They exist, like the law of gravity, right? For one, all the laws that make physics work, all the laws that make manifestation work, like the law of attraction, the law of cause and effect, the law of correspondence, the law of vibration, all of those laws are in existence. And one of those laws is the law of free will. And so we live in a reflective universe, and Oftentimes we wait on the universe to act. We wait on God to send us a sign first or to make something happen in our lives when it's very much the opposite that is happening, where we must first take the first step and then the thing that we want will happen, right? We got to go first. And the thing about waiting is that waiting attracts more waiting. And so when we're in silence with God, when we're in silence with the universe, when we're in silence with source, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. I feel like I use all the names for the same thing: creator, infinite intelligence, God, whatever. If you're in silence, it'll be in silence with you. So you are essentially like the first swing of the pendulum, is how I like to look at it. So when I pray, I like to pray like I'm talking to a real life person. A lot of people don't know how to pray. I literally just pretend like I'm talking to another human being and just sharing whatever it is that I feel like I need to share in order to get something off my chest, in order to ask for help, for assistance, or just offer some words of appreciation and gratitude. So some of my prayers are prayers of gratitude. Some of my prayers are prayers of assistance. And I feel like whenever I need any sort of guidance in times that feel uncertain, in times that feel like my manifestations are never going to happen, almost like God forgot about them, I will send out a prayer like, hey, I'm just letting you know I need a sign. Like I'm starting to lose faith, and it's okay for you to be vulnerable. And I will tell you, even as a manifestation teacher of almost 16 years, yes, even I lose faith in the process sometimes. Even I get to points where my life is just falling apart and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And forget everything that I teach momentarily. And then everything, of course, comes back into place, and everything that doesn't serve me falls away. Everything that now serves me comes into my life. And then at the end of it, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Now I see how literally everything was happening for me. Okay. Yes. Now we're back on track here. But in that gap, right? In that moment of, oh my God, what's happening? I don't know what's happening. I feel like everything's falling apart. I feel like nothing's working. I feel like I fucked up. What am I doing wrong? I will always come back to prayer, and I'll just ask for assistance. For the most part, I will do prayers of gratitude. And I feel like that's such an underrated hack for manifestation, is just to say thank you, even for the things that haven't come yet. Because again, the mind has no idea what's real or what's imagined. So if you're thanking God for blessings that even if you haven't received them yet, your mind literally thinks that you did receive them. And so it puts you in the place of receptivity. It puts you into a place of magnetism. You literally become a magnet to those things because the subconscious mind needs to find evidence. It's an evidence finding machine. It literally seeks out what you believe to be true. So if you believe that you already have these things and they're already true, then the subconscious mind is going to go into your reality and fish them out so that your reality and what you believe to be true are in congruence. So that's why that works. You might not hear a voice speaking back to you. And here's the thing that people get wrong with prayer is that they're like, I prayed, but I didn't hear anyone say anything back, right? Nobody loves me. I am broken. I'm forgotten about. Nobody's up there looking over me. And the thing is that, you may not hear a voice speaking to you in return, but you will find that God speaks to you in life through signs and synchronicities and messages and just things that align in ways where you're like, okay, like only divine intelligence can make that happen. Or what are the odds that I overheard this conversation when I was stressed about this thing, but then someone else was talking about this thing and it was literally like the answer to my prayers. Or recently I asked the universe for a sign of a pink flamingo, and then I felt like I wasn't getting it. And I know it's such a random sign, but I feel like I wasn't getting it. And then I was starting to lose faith. And then today I was listening to a podcast, and the podcast host literally said, be the pink flamingo. And I'm like, fuck, there we go. There's the answer to my prayer. Now I feel better. So yeah, it just gives me immense peace in times of uncertainties to just know that I have a trusted guide here to protect me, to lead me, and to provide for me. And it just lets me lean so much deeper into my feminine, which your feminine energy is the energy that you manifest from, right? It's all about surrender. It's all about receiving. It's all about letting go. It's all about just being, right? That's such a big portion of manifestation. So the more that I lean onto God, source, universe, the more that I open up that conversation, the more that I receive and the more at peace that I feel, which is a frequency that is very magnetic to the kind of life that you want to live. The fourth thing, so number 4 on my list, is ways to open up your intuition. So breathwork and meditation, I feel like are so underrated. And I feel like these are so good for people who struggle with their intuition. So if you struggle with hearing your intuition, these 2 practices are non-negotiable for you. These are my favorite ways of connecting with my intuition. So breathwork is a very specific style of breathing. There's many different styles out there. There's many different classes. I teach it in my courses. There's lots of online teachers, lots of different virtual classes that you can take. If you've never done breathwork before, I highly, highly recommend it. It's such a great way to get your mind to silence through a practice of breathing in a very specific way and accessing parts of your brain that are underneath your awareness and sending that energy through the breath into the parts of your brain that are underneath your awareness allows your subconscious beliefs to come up to the surface so that you can rewire them, so that emotions that are stuck somewhere in your body, somewhere in your subconscious comes up to the surface so it can be cleared. And all this stuff that is blocking you from receiving messages from the superconscious mind. Because it goes conscious mind, subconscious mind, superconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is the bridge between the conscious mind, which is the mind of awareness, and the superconscious mind, which is the mind of intuition. And a lot of people think that their subconscious mind is intuition, when in fact it's just the bridge to intuition. But intuition cannot be heard if you're overly emotional and you have a lot of emotional stuff coming up. You need to know how to regulate that, how to release that. And I feel like breath work is such a powerful way to do that. And then also meditation, just sitting in meditation, which is many different styles. Like I said, you can go to meditation classes. There's guided meditations you can listen to. I really love just sitting in silence, like literally no music, nothing, just sitting there, which can be a challenge at first, but it's something that I've gotten used to. It's something that just gives me such a moment of peace, especially after I'm hearing my toddler all day long, every single day, like through my ear, just no matter where he's at in the house. If you have a toddler, you know it, like you can hear them anywhere. And if you don't hear them, that's a bad thing. They're doing something they shouldn't be doing. Like my husband yesterday literally went into the garage while I was still sleeping. He was up with our son. He went to the garage because we had organizers at our house organizing our garage, and he left our toddler unattended for literally 3 minutes. But you guys know, if you have toddlers, 3 minutes is like 3 hours and they can get into a lot. He came into his office later on in the day. First of all, he found him in his office, but then later in the day found out that there are a bunch of broken statues in my husband's office that my son knocked down. So anyway, why was I talking about my toddler? Oh yeah, because sometimes mom needs a break. I need some fucking silence. And so whatever I receive in meditation and breath work is always some sort of intuitive message. I think that if you struggle with meditation, you really like breath work, and whatever intuitive message that I get from my breath work sessions or from my meditation usually have some sort of connection to my manifestations. So as I set intentions, as I set these like energetic decisions that guide creation, which is what an intention is, the universe then delivers to me through my intuition the exact blueprint to get to where I need to go. But if you're so fucking busy just scrolling on social media all day, blabbing away to people around you, constantly keeping your mind busy, overthinking things, and never giving yourself time to just be like, okay, what is my intuition trying to tell me? You're not going to get those messages. So I get a lot of messages through breathwork and meditation, and sometimes they're immediate action steps to take. Sometimes they're action steps for the future, but I find that if I just trust what I receive, if I just follow what I receive in meditation and breathwork, it will always, 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 always guide me closer and closer to what I'm manifesting. The fifth one is one that I feel like isn't talked about enough, but I feel like it's such a powerful hack that is done through other people. Let me explain this. The fifth hack, or the fifth underrated ritual, is to impress the highest timeline for other people. Okay. What do I mean by this? So first things first, every manifestation teacher has their own opinion on karma, with many of them not believing in it. However, I 1000% believe in karma, especially as a pattern obsessed human being who loves to study rhythms and cycles and patterns in nature and human behavior and through spirituality. Like, I really love to study patterns. Doing this for over 15 years of diving into spirituality, let me tell you, there's one pattern that I've figured out that I have noticed over and over and over and over again. And that is that the energy is always returned. Okay. The energy always comes back. The boomerang always comes back. In fact, my shaman talks about it. The shaman that I apprentice with tells me that karma is very much real. It's called the law of cause and effect. Look it up. And it just says that every effect has a cause, every cause has an effect. Every energy that you send out always will boomerang back. Like, there is no exceptions to this law. There's nuance to this law, of course, but there are no exceptions. And a law is a law, and a universal law is just a universal law, okay, whether you like it or not. So I believe that what we wish upon others, we ultimately wish upon ourselves. And this also has a blend of the law of oneness with this, because the law of oneness says that we are all one. And this is also reflected then scientifically in that the subconscious mind takes everything personally. So even the things that you speak out to other people, the things that, I say on my podcast, the ways that I communicate with other people, the things that I think about other people, the things that I wish upon other people, the subconscious mind thinks that you're always talking to yourself. It takes everything personally. It has no concept of the outside world. Everything is inside. And so whatever you wish upon others, you are ultimately wishing upon yourself. So the subconscious mind takes that as, oh, I see, you want that for yourself. Okay, got it. You want that horrible thing that you wish will happen to someone else because you're jealous of them. Got it. Like, you want that for yourself. Okay, awesome. So misery will be returned. You're welcome. So what I do with this law, or what I do with this principle of wishing the highest timeline for other people, is essentially I use this principle to not only, like, just because not only send out, like, for the purpose of sending out, good energy to other people, but also it does something where it helps me embody abundance principles on a deeper level. It becomes the antidote to scarcity, because I now think that everyone in the world can succeed. Not just me, not just this person, or if someone else has something, it takes away from me, or if I have something, it takes away from them. Like, everybody can succeed. I want the highest timeline for every single person. So every single person that I come across, that I meet, that I see, that I talk to, I ask myself, can I wish for all of them to live their highest timeline? And what would their highest timeline look like? And this is just as simple as, of course, like, we don't know everyone's dreams and goals, but I literally just, like, close my eyes even for a second. And I'll do this with, like, strangers on the street. If you ever sit at a cafe and you're just kind of people watching and you watch people walk by you, I will do this as a conscious practice. It's one of my manifestation practices. I'll literally, like, let's say I see a dad and his daughter walking by, I'll just close my eyes, or just really quickly mentally, like, go inward and just see the dad, just something really amazing happening to the dad and something amazing happening to the daughter. And I don't know what that is, but I see them smiling and I can feel that this energy is radiating off of them, like a massive breakthrough or a massive blessing just came into their lives, and that they're so happy and they're living their dream life and they're at peace and they're joyful, and that everything is going well and everything is going in the direction that makes them the happiest and makes them the most fulfilled. And I will wish that upon them. And it's something that makes me feel good. And it's something that I know that we're all powerful. I know that that energy is actually being sent to them. It's like a prayer that I'm sending to this person, an intention that I'm gifting to them. And because I mean well, the energy of the highest good is what I'm sending them. That energy will be protected for them. if that's making sense. I feel like that's not really making sense in my head for some reason. That didn't come out the way I intended to say it, but I hope that you get what I mean. Can I wish for everyone I come into contact with to have something amazing happen to them? Again, I don't know what it is. I may not know what this person's dreams are, but I send them some energy and I ask the universe to bless them in ways that they don't even know are possible yet. And by the way, I do this for every single one of you. So every single follower I have on Instagram, every single podcast listener that I have, I imagine each and every single one of you, and the amount of prayers that I have sent to you are insane. So I do this for two reasons. Like I said, yes, I want you to live an amazing life genuinely. And two, I want to remind myself constantly that all of us winning is possible. So nobody has to lose in order for one of us to win. And if one of us becomes 100 millionaire, okay, or a billionaire or millionaire or whatever, it doesn't mean that someone else can't achieve that. And it's like a true embodiment of the law of oneness, where what's possible for one is possible for all. And I find that through this process, like circling back to like, how does this help you manifest? I find that amazing things come back to me when I do this from a place of no expectations of return. Obviously, you can't trick the universe. You can't be like, I'm going to be a nice person today just because I'm going to activate the law of karma in my favor. Like, no, that's not how that works. The universe can sense that inauthentic energy, and that inauthentic energy is what you're going to get in return. But just like really finding the place in your heart to just not make it about you, but make it about someone else, and see if you can help someone else manifest something incredible into their lives, using your own imagination, which will just help you build that muscle as well for yourself. And I guess that's another benefit to doing this practice, is because, again, the mind doesn't know what's real or imagined. The mind has no idea that you're talking about someone else. So this only helps you build that manifestation muscle. Okay, it's a little bit longer than I anticipated, but thank you for being here. We're on number 6, which number 6, I just gave it a name, which is God Consciousness Affirmations. So what do I mean by this? So I've recently been using a tool that I've just coined as like God consciousness. It came from a meditation that I had. And again, my meditations have been getting stronger and stronger and stronger because I've been practicing them. I've been really honing in on my intuition and growing that muscle. And I'm super proud of myself and all that's come with it. In this particular meditation, I was able to essentially like access the mind of God. It was like my frequency. I was just able to raise my frequency to a place where I just became God. Like, what is that almighty creator consciousness? And what do I see through the creator's eyes? And it was a very profound experience. And I was able to then view myself and view my life and the lives of other people through that consciousness. And the amount of problems that I was able to solve, issues in my life that I perceived to be these problems, the amount of problems that I've been able to solve from this level of consciousness has been fucking magical and miraculous. It's one of my favorite coaching tools now. Whenever I have a client come to me with an issue, I ask them to embody God consciousness. Like, if you were to literally be in the mind of God right now and see the world through God's eyes, now look down at yourself and look down at the situation at hand. What do you see? And if you ever have a hard time doing this, it's probably because you're coming back into your own consciousness. So you need to leave your body, like forget about you and your existence, and literally see yourself from that ultimate creator level of third person perspective, which is a very powerful coaching tool to begin with, third person perspective. But then accessing God consciousness just gives you a whole nother layer to this. And so what I started doing with this is I started to use this to develop affirmations for myself, and not just any affirmation that I read off the internet, but like literally custom made, custom tailored affirmations for myself that come from the highest frequency. So it's literally like, what do I need God to tell me today for me to feel my best? So the prompt that I encourage you to ask yourself, and that I've been asking myself and creating new affirmations for myself from this place, is, what would God say to you from the way that God sees you? Okay. What would God say to you about your situation? How does God see your situation? What is going to happen from God's perspective? What would God say to you about what's possible for you? And whatever you get from these prompts become your affirmations. And you can say this to yourself through God, Like, meaning I could talk to myself, I could look at myself in the mirror and just be like, Catherine, you're so beautiful, you know? If you only knew how radiant you are. So I can talk to myself from like that perspective, or I can use it as an I am statement, like I'm saying it to myself, because this is clearly what I really need to hear. And so it could be like, I'm infinitely loved and perfect and whole as I am, or money is an infinite resource that is ever present and always surrounding me, or whatever it is. So this is like my hack to creating literally high frequency, custom, tailored affirmations from God consciousness. Yeah. So I wrote here also, the key is actually to become source. So if you're struggling with this, you're still in your own head. So make sure you move up. Just like imagine raising your frequency up and seeing the world through God's eyes. What do you see when you see yourself? And what do you need to tell yourself for you to know that you are infinitely loved? And my shaman recently, he talks about a lot of various topics, but recently he's been really talking about like how God is love. Like divine intelligence is pure love. How do you know that you have accessed God consciousness? You're just going to feel an immense love for yourself. And if love could speak, what would it say? If you approached yourself with ultimate love, unconditional love, what are the affirmations that you can come up with for yourself from that place? And then say those affirmations to yourself every single day. And I feel like affirmations don't work if they're just said as like very boring, monotone statements that you just repeat over and over and over again. But when you emotionally connect to them, because when you emotionally connect to them, you're able to access your subconscious mind and literally impress your subconscious mind with them. So I feel like when you access the frequency of love and then you come up with an affirmation from the frequency of love, you're able to access those emotional frequencies, which then help you further impress those frequencies into your subconscious mind. So anyway, I'm going to stop blabbing now. I hope you enjoyed this list of my 6 underrated manifestation rituals. Let me know which ones you try, which ones you love, which ones are your go-tos. I always love hearing from you. Go ahead and send me a DM on Instagram. You can always send me an email to hello@manifestationbabe.com. Leave a comment on my latest post. I wish that sometimes podcasts had the comment section, because I feel like it'd be a great way to build a community and just get like real life, real time feedback in podcast form. I feel like that's just an amazing feature that would be awesome, but maybe that'll come one day, maybe not. We'll see. I also really appreciate your guys' reviews. They mean the world to me. Thank you so much. We have really skyrocketed our reviews lately, and you are all just the sweetest, true angels. And I really love enjoying making content for you. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So much gratitude for you. And you already know I pray for you every single day. I send you guys all my best energy, all the best intentions. I always see the highest timeline for you. And yeah, I hope you have a phenomenal day, and I will catch you in the next episode. Mwah. Bye.